I hope you guys get a peace of mind. Ha ha ha. Muhahaha. I'm just kidding. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm doing well. My day is going amazing. I didn't have a thumbnail for this, y'all, because my day, oh my gosh, I got my day all confused up, twisted up, and whatnot. All right, let me drop this live though real quick. Thank you for the likes. I love when y'all come in and drop a like. All right, so we're going to be reading Esther, and we're going to be talking about the Esther Fast today. Y'all, my birthday's tomorrow. Ew. Yes. What am I doing tomorrow? I'm going to go get brunch with my hubby and my cousin, and we're going to do a little shopping because we're going to an event on Sunday. Oh, wait. I think there's a theme at our church. But we're gonna go shopping because we're going out of town at the end of October. Well, not at the end, at the mid-end, I would say. So, just gonna be really relaxing. That's it. All right, so the last live we left off, we were talking about, hold on, let me get comfy. Because I like to be comfy. I like to be comfy when I'm reading sometimes, and then I like to be at the desk taking notes. But this time, I just want to be comfortable, you know? All right. So the last live we left off, we were talking about Esther. And, no, I'm sorry, not Esther. The last live we were talking about fasting. So this live, we're going to be talking about Esther and just reading about and getting clarity and understanding on why Esther fasted, so that just fasting can, so we can get some insight on why we should fast. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start at Esther 2. Yeah, verse 2. Chapter 2, verse 1. Okay, so I'm reading the NLT. Yep, this is the NLT. This is a big baby too. But you know, sometimes some Bibles be small, can't even see. I gotta be able to see the words, all them words. All right, but after excerpts, okay, I don't know how to remember. I don't remember how to say this name. Excerpts, help me out, y'all. Anger had subsided. He began thinking about Vashti and what she had done in the decree he had made. So his personal attendant suggested, let us search this empire to find beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint agents in each province to bring these beautiful young women in the royal harem at the fortress of Susa. Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem, will see that they are all given beauty treatments. After that, the young woman who most pleases the king will be made queen instead of Vashti. This advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect. So this is just giving us a backstory on how Esther, hey Aaron, how are you? How Esther came into the, how Esther becomes queen. So the king is getting rid of his old queen. And right now he's searching for the next queen. And whoever pleases the king the most is the one who will be queen. Now I find this interesting though. It says a young woman who pleases the king will be made queen. I'm just wondering, was that like a sexual pleasing? Because it did point out that let us search the empire to find beautiful young virgins for the king. I'm just trying to figure out, back in that day, was pleasing the king was something sexual, or was that just the personality? I need to dig deep and really kind of find out what that was. You know, what exactly was that? Let's keep reading. This advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect. At that time, there was a Jewish man in the fortress of Susa whose name was Mordecai, son of Jair. He was from the tribe of Benjamin and was a descendant of Kish and Shimi. His family had been among those with King Jehoiachin of Judah had been exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. This man had a very beautiful and lovely young cousin, Hadassah, who was also called Esther. When her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her into his family and raised her as his own daughter. Hey John, how are you? I'm from Atlanta. Where are you from? So Esther lost her mom and her dad. Wow. And Mordecai raised her. That's so crazy, y'all. That's so crazy. I'm sorry. I just kind of got like, my heart just kind of just went like, oh man. Hi, Nehe. How do you say your name? Is it Nihar? How do I say your name? But hey, girl. They were groomed as per the royal criteria and preferences to be the queen. What was it though? What were they? I want to know more details about that. What's up, Say? My name is Niha. Hey, Niha. Hey, Web. Good to see y'all, my people in here. Okay. As a result of the king's decree, Esther, along with many other young women, was brought to the king Hiram at the fortress of Susa and placed in Haggai's care. Haggai was very impressed with Esther and treated her kindly. He quickly ordered a special menu for her and provided her with beauty treatments. He also assigned her 7 maids, specially chosen from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. Esther did not tell anyone of her nationality and family background because Mordecai had directed her not to do so. I can say Esther had some favor on her life. Because out of all the young women, Esther, was given a special menu, beauty treatments, and she was assigned 7 maids. She had a lot of favor. Thanks for coming to live again. Oh, thank you for joining. Oh, I didn't do live yesterday, huh? Y'all was looking for me? I didn't go live yesterday. I was trying to catch up on editing some content, y'all. I've been editing and I'm writing a book that I really hope the book is finished in a couple of days. It's an ebook. I'm gonna drop it really soon. I'm not gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna drop it. But I was working on my book today and editing some content yesterday for TikTok and Facebook. So make sure y'all follow me on there for some short form content. Queens in those days were selected for their wisdom, knowledge, and their moral values. Beauty, as in the sexual sides, were part though, but mostly someone who could act as a queen. Okay, their knowledge, wisdom, and their moral values. Okay, I thought so. But I wasn't sure. I didn't want to assume. Life, not life, but people's attachments make people love. This is life. Okay, I missed you too, Nihal. I'm glad to see you on. What's up, Mike? Esther, okay, I read that. All right, next page. Every day, Mordecai would take a walk near the courtyard to the harem to find out about Esther and what was happening to her. Before each young woman was taken to the king's bed, she was given the prescribed 12 months of beauty treatment, 6 months of oil of myrrh, followed by 6 months with special perfumes and ointments. When it was time for her to go to the king's palace, she was given her choice of whatever clothing and jewelry she wanted to take from the harem. So she was being spoiled. This was the straight up princess queen treatment. I mean, the spoiled treatment. Perfume, beauty treatments, skincare, perfumes, and ointments. That evening, she was taken to the king's private room, and the next morning, she was brought to the second harem, where the king wives lived. So she was like moving on up. King really liked her. There, she would be under the care of Ashgaz, the king's eunuchs in charge of the concubines. The concubines are where the king would sleep with. So the concubines are the ones who would sleep with the kings. So just imagine you, this young girl, you going through all these other young beautiful girls, and then you get bumped up. Then now you're around the, I'm trying to find another modern word for concubine. I don't want to say anything, concubine, side chicks. Then you around all the side chicks. Y'all know those bachelor houses that are like reality TV shows? Have y'all ever watched like The Bachelor? Or it's like a reality TV show where there's one man and then all these women like compete for this one man. And it's like a house full of like 15 women. And just imagine you're like, just surrounded by all these different women and you stand out. That is favor. What's one thing I like to say to my younger self? One thing I would say to my younger self, oh, that's good. Not necessarily sleep with the king, what, the concubines? The concubines didn't sleep with the king? Wait, the concubine, are you sure? Because ABC Bachelorette. Thank you, AB. Yes, you seen that show? Hold on, let me look up this concubine. I thought they slept with the kings. It says they live with the man, but they're not. Oh yeah, it's a sexual relationship. Okay. Oh, I was talking about the concubines. My bad. I'm getting y'all mixed up. What's up, Patrick? Sorry, y'all. It's a lot of comments. What's up, Wayne? This is a good thing, though. Let me answer your question. What's one thing I'll say to my younger self? I would say to my younger self to trust that feeling. Some people call it intuition. I call it the Holy Spirit. Just to trust that, because God was speaking to me a long time ago. I'm not going to say as a kid because I don't remember. But I would say in my younger self, God definitely was speaking to me and I ignored it because I didn't know. But I dealt with the consequences, but I really didn't know. I would say to trust that feeling. I've always been a feeling person. Like I could feel like it's like just being aware of that feeling. And that feeling for me is if I don't have peace, just to trust it. Like if I don't have peace in that, not to be just so desperate to making it, to get out of poverty, to make money, to not be so desperate, to just be more patient, because when I was 21, I just thought I had to be a millionaire by 25. That was just my mindset. Like 21 years old, I just thought I just had to be so successful, so successful, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna run out of time. Like, what? That's just so unrealistic. Just my mindset. I mean, I had a great mindset because I wanted to, I'm gonna say I had a great mindset for success, but just the amount of time that I thought I should have success, just needed some more patience. And to understand that I can't do anything without God. That's what I'll tell my younger self. Because I'll say to my younger self, you a fool if you think you can do anything without God. That's what I'll say to my younger self. You a fool. Hey, Anna, how are you? Okay, where did I leave off? Oh, okay. Okay, I read that. She would never go to the king unless he had specifically enjoyed her and requested her by name. Esther was the daughter of Abihail, who was Mordecai's uncle. Mordecai had adopted his younger cousin Esther. When it was Esther's turn to go to the king, she accepted the advice of Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the harem. She asked for nothing except what he suggested, and she was admired by everyone who saw her. Esther was special. She was very special. She was very smart, too. Esther was taken to King Xerxes at the royal palace in early winter of the 7th year of his reign, and the king loved Esther more than any of the other younger women. He was so delighted with her that he set the royal crown on her head and declared her queen instead of Vashti. To celebrate the occasion, he gave a great banquet in Esther's honor for all of his nobles and officials, declaring a public holiday for the provinces and giving generous gifts to everyone. Even after all the young women had been transferred to the sacred harem and Mordecai had become a palace official, Esther continued to keep her family background and nationality a secret. She was still following Mordecai's directions, just as she did, and she lived in his home. Concubine had a lower status than wife, but common. Oh yes, they were a lower status. I don't understand why you need so many. Me personally, I wouldn't want to deal with that many people like that at one time in that type of relationship. That would drive me nuts. I wouldn't want to, I just, She was chosen and prepared from God not only to be queen, but for her own glory, but for the sake of the Israelites for a time that was coming. Yes, she definitely was chosen. You can really see how God is playing a factor in this story, how she's chosen out of everybody, how she's liked, she stands out. Everyone was impressed by her. She had something special about her. But she dealt with something so tragic. Her parents died. Her mom and her dad died. And her older cousin adopted her. But yet God still had a plan for her. You can go through something so tragic, but God still has a plan. And that plan is slowly forming, one day at a time. It's like she's getting closer and closer. I think that is beautiful. One day, as Mordecai was on duty at the king's gate, two of the king eunuchs, Bigthana and Teresh, who were guards at the door of the king's private quarters, became angry at King Xerxes and plotted to assassinate him. But Mordecai heard about the plot and gave the information to Queen Esther. She then told the king about it and gave Mordecai credit for the report. When an investigation was made about Mordecai's story was found to be true. Wow, let me pause right here. See, Esther's story wasn't just about Esther. Esther's story was about her her older cousin. I don't know why I want to call Mordecai Esther's uncle. But Esther's story was about the older cousin, was about Mordecai, was about the king. Because Esther was queen and Mordecai was attached to Esther, Mordecai gave Queen Esther some really valuable information that could really save the king's life. And Esther took that information and gave it back to the king. Can you imagine if you have the wrong queen? Can you imagine if this king had the wrong queen around him? Now, in the beginning of the story, this king, he did have another queen. It was Queen Vashti. I hope I'm saying her name right. He got rid of her because she was upsetting. She was doing something. She was doing something the king didn't like. But can you imagine just having the wrong people around you? You had the wrong people around you. This guy would have got killed. But because he had the right people around him, he had Queen Esther, someone who had favor, his life got saved. When an investigation was made and Mordecai's story was found to be true, the two men were impaled on a sharpened pole. This was all recorded in the book of the history of King Xerxes' reign. Wow. Daughter of Zion lives. Why God give two and teenage different problems in your life alone? Sadness. Something disturbed myself, but why? Excuse me. I'm good, random. How are you? Are you asking why does God give you different problems in your life? Why does God give you different problems in your life? I feel like that is a question that can be answered in so many different ways. Because who's to say that God gives us problems? Some problems I feel like, not all problems are from God. You have to remember when Adam and Eve ate the apple, death was upon us. When not the apple, I don't know what fruit they ate. I want to be specific because some of y'all be coming for me. When Adam and Eve ate whatever they ate, then that's when they sinned, and then we had to die. So her parents dying at a young age, I mean, honestly, I can't answer that question. But I do believe that everything in your life may, some stuff may not be God. There is the enemy. And some things may be God to build your character, to build your character. I don't know. I don't think I can answer that question right now. I can't answer it later on. She wasn't fit to be queen in the way Esther was groomed to be. Can anybody answer that question? I agree, Aaron. What's up, LUW? Queen, Dawn of Israel, Esther. Can anybody answer that question? Sai said, why does God give to... Let me see, what did he say? Why God... He's asking, why does God give teenagers different problems? Like when you're a teenager, when you're a kid, why do you have to go through so much trauma? Is that what you're asking, Sai? I wish I could answer that. I don't know. I'll have to come back to that. I don't know everything. I don't know. Sorry. But we'll find out. We'll find out the answer. I'm sure we will. I feel like, okay, I can say this. Why did Jesus have to die a so painful, extravagant death? It was for a reason. It was for a reason. It was painful. It was bad. I mean, it was brutal. It was cruel. Why was Jesus tormented and treated badly when he did nothing wrong? He cared for people, loved people, healed them, helped them. I mean, why was he treated like that? Why did he die? Why did he even die? Why do good people die? For Jesus' case, it was for a purpose. I don't know. Okay, let's keep going. Sometime later, King Xerxes promoted Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, over all the other nobles, making him the most powerful official in the empire. All the king's officials would bow down before Haman to show him respect whenever he passed by, for so the king had commanded. But Mordecai refused to bow down and show him respect. So the king promoted this guy, Haman, to a powerful position. He was the most powerful person in the empire besides the king. And his request was that you bow down to him every time he walked by. Crazy. Then the palace officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai, why are you disobeying the king's command? They spoke to him day after day, but still he refused to comply with the order. So they asked Mordecai, why you're not bowing down to the king? He's like, I'm not doing that. Mordecai didn't want to do it. He didn't do it. So they spoke to Haman about this to see if he would tolerate Mordecai's conduct, since Mordecai had told them he was a Jew. So they snitched on him. They told the king, you know, they spoke to the king to see how he's going to handle the misconduct for Mordecai. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not bow down or show him respect, he was filled with rage. He had learned of Mordecai's nationality, so he decided it was not enough to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Instead, he looked for a way to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire empire of Xerxes. This, in my opinion, was a racial battle. Like racial, he was being racist. And it was all because Haman thought he was pride, ego. Pride, ego. You're just filled with pride, filled with ego. And this is like a racial, racist thing. Niha, are you here? Are you still here, Niha? I wanted to skip this part though. Oh no, we're actually coming up to it, my bad. I don't want to skip it. So because Mordecai didn't bow down to the king got mad and he learned that Mordecai was a Jew, so he hated all Jews. How can you hate a community of people because one person not doing what you want them to do? What is up with that? That's just like hating black people because this one black person didn't speak to you. That is racist. What's up, Knife World? You can't judge a whole community of people based off of your encounter with one person. That's crazy. That's a little nuts, y'all. So in the month of April, during the 12th year of King Xerxes' reign, lots were cast in Haman's presence. The lots were called Purim to determine the best day in the month to take action, and the day selected was March 7th, nearly a year later. Then Haman approached King Xerxes, I think that's how you say it, Xerxes, and said, "There's a certain race of people scattered throughout all the provinces of your empire who keep themselves separate from everyone else. Ooh, their laws are different from those of any other people, and they refuse to obey the laws of the king. So it is not in the king's interest to let them live." So Haman is like, look, wow, Haman is really passionate about killing Jews. Wow. If it please the king, issue a decree that they be destroyed, and I will give 10,000 large stacks. He's trying to pay for the king, for the Jews, to be destroyed. And he's setting it up so good, you know. And then he's lying as well. I'm reading Esther chapter 3. God doesn't give us problems. When we are tempted, mostly it's because of our own desires sometimes. But if God is allowing anything to come into our lives, when he is definitely giving us a way out. Amen. If God allows it, if he allows it, it's definitely for a reason. A reason that we might not understand. What's up, Gus Bad? I'm sorry, y'all. I read this before, but reading it now, different revelation. The revelation that I'm receiving from this is that King Xerxes was a really bad manipulative person. To manipulate and to get the king to sign off on your evil ways is wicked. The king agreed. We're gonna see what happened to his wicked butt. The king agreed concerning his decision by removing his signet ring from his finger and giving it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. The king said, "The money and the people are both yours, so to do with you to do as you see fit. So on April 17th, seen a lot of sevens here. You got March 7th, April 17th. The king's secretaries were summoned, and a decree was written exactly as Haman dictated. It was sent out to the king's highest officers, the governors of the respected provinces, and the nobles of each province in their own scripts and languages. The decree was written in the name of King Xerxes and sealed with the king's signet ring. Dispatches were sent out by swift messengers into all the provinces of the empire, giving the order that all Jews, young and old, including women, children, must be killed. That's crazy. That's so crazy. That's so sad. And annihilated on a single day. This was scheduled to happen on March 7th of the next year. The property of the Jews will be given to those who killed them. A copy of this decree was to be issued as law in every province and proclaimed to all peoples, so that they would be ready to do their duty on the appointed day. At the king's command, the decree went out by swift messengers, and it was also proclaimed in the fortress of Susa. Then the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa fell into confusion. God is not a God of confusion now. And Haman was in this position of power. He was close with the king. He was able to get the king to do really whatever. All because a Jew won't bow down to you. So now you want to kill all Jews. You want to kill the men, the women, the children? What's up with this dude? This is crazy, y'all. Y'all hear this? This is crazy. This is a lunatic. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But this guy has some serious ego and anger problems. He just don't know when to stop. It's like what he's saying is, okay, you won't bow down to me? I'm going to have all of you killed, including you. I'm going to have you killed. That's basically what he's saying. He's like, you won't bow down to me, I'm going to show you something. What a waste of time, effort, money, resources. Like, what a waste. What a waste. Why would you want to waste your position of power in this way to prove a point? What a waste. He's over his head. He is. What a waste. What a waste. Oh my gosh. That just got me amped up. Okay. So now we're about to really see where Esther, Queen Esther, is coming from, y'all. I had to read that part so we can really get on Queen Esther's, like, so we can really understand where she's coming from. We got to get on her level. We got to feel it. We got to read it and understand it so we can really get an insight. Okay, so we can see that her back was against the wall. Actually, it wasn't, because she chose God's route, God's way. When you choose God's way, your back is not against the wall. Let's keep reading. When Mordecai learned about all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on burlap and ashes, and went out into the city, crying with a loud and bitter wail. So Mordecai heard, Jews gotta die. If you're a Jew, you gotta die. So Mordecai, he was filled with sorrow. And when you're in like distress, you put on burlap and you tear your clothes, put burlap on. That's something that they did back in the day. I feel like an equivalent of that is if you see somebody in distress. I mean, I'm gonna put it like this. If I see someone in distress, how I know they're in distress, they're gonna be on social media crying. That's how I see in this generation somebody in distress. They're gonna post about it. You're gonna see something about it online. That's how I would know. This was like how they would show that they're in some type of distress. And the news of the king's decrees. Let me go back up to verse 2. This is Esther 4, verse 2. He went as far as the gate of the palace, for no one was allowed to enter the palace gate wearing clothes of mourning. And as news of the king's decrees reached all the provinces, there was a great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, wailed, and many people lay in burlap and ashes. Ooh, they fasted together. Them Jews stick together. When Queen Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace the burlap, but he refused it. Mordecai was so mad. Then Esther sent for I can't remember how to say that name. Oh my goodness. Hatchach, one of the king's eunuchs who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was mourning. So Hatchat went out to Mordecai in the square in front of the palace gate. Mordecai told him the whole story, including the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Isn't it crazy when you don't do what somebody in power say, the first thing they want to do is kill you. When you don't want to do, like in certain industries or just people in general, you don't do what they say. Like, here's an example: if someone wants to rob you and they say, "Give me your money," and you say no, first thing people want to do when you tell them no is kill you. That is crazy. That's wild. Okay. Mordecai gave Hatchet a copy of the decree issued in Susa that called for the death of all Jews. He asked Hatchet, how do you say that name? Hathach? I don't know. To show it to Esther and explain the situation to her. He also asked Hatchet to direct her to go to the king to beg for mercy and plead for her people. So Hatchet returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Esther told Hatchet to go back and relay the message to Mordecai. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. So Mordecai told Hatchet. Hatchet was like a messenger in this situation. Mordecai told Hatchet that the king is going to kill all the Jews. Hatchet told Esther. And Mordecai told Esther to do something about it. He's like, go to the king, beg for mercy. Esther is saying that no one can do that. No one can appear before the king in his inner court without being invited. Is doomed to die. So back in their day, the only way you get in front, you can't appear in front of the king like that unless you're invited. But the way Esther plays this so smooth. Like there's traditions, I would say, or back then they had like these traditions, like you can't go in front of the king unless you're invited. It says, let me read it actually. Even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die. So let me keep going. And the king had not called for me to come to him for 30 days. So Hatchet gave Esther's message to Mordecai. So they're just giving messages back and forth. Mordecai sent this message to Esther. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace you will escape when all the other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just a time at this. Not for us, but for his purpose. That was back in the day. Thanks for not reacting to watermelon emojis. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Neville. You broke your forearm? Are you still here? Reminting ideas? I'm sorry you broke your forearm. Your forearm? How did you break your forearm, though? I'm so sorry. Are you okay? What's up, 77 Lyric? Okay. Sometimes I wonder, how do you know when God is speaking to you? Mordecai sent a message to Esther. You know when God is speaking to you, when you have to really like, what am I trying to say? Mordecai sent this message to Esther. And he says, let me reread it. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all the other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you are made queen for just a time at this? I feel like God was really using Mordecai to speak to Esther at this type of time. He's telling her to do something. Don't do something. Just don't do nothing. Seek justice because you're a Jew as well. And when God speaks to us, sometimes we get really confused. But if you know God and you know the fruit of the Spirit and you know what God, like what you know, if you know what God doesn't stand for, which is told to us in the Bible, you know what God hates, you know what God loves. God loves his people. And he cares about other people. This message from Mordecai was definitely like God letting Esther know through a person. In my opinion, that's my personal opinion, okay? If you agree, let me know. If you don't, let me know. All right, then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai. So she received the message and listened to what she says. Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. See, she wants everybody, the Jews, to fast for her because she's about to do something. My maids and I will do the same, and then, though it is against the law, I will go and see the king. If I must die, I must die. So Mordecai went and did everything as Esther had ordered him. On the 3rd day of the fast, Esther put on her royal robes and entered the inner court of the palace just across the king's hall. She wasn't supposed to do that. See, Esther, the thing about Esther is she fasted for 3 days. I believe a fast is powerful when you fast for 3 days. No water, no food. When you need an answer, you should fast. You need to hear from God, you should fast. You're in a dilemma, you should fast. You got a problem, you don't know, you need clarity, you need understanding. She fasted. And then it says on the 3rd day, she went to go see the king. She just told Mordecai, you die like that. She just told Mordecai, nobody goes to see the king in his inner court unless you're invited or you're doomed to die. So listen to this. The king was sitting on his royal throne facing the entrance. When he saw Queen Esther standing there in the inner court, he welcomed her and held the gold scepter to her. Because Esther already had favor, y'all, was a woman of God, she didn't die. He invited her in. He liked Esther. And Esther went about this the right way. Just imagine if she was a storm in there and she didn't fast. You know, like, you want God on your side. She fasted. To me, that was like, when I hear this story of Esther again, for me it's like, okay, God, I'm about to do something. I have to do something. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fast, seek your voice, show you that I have faith. I'm standing with you, God, but be with me as I do this. That's what I got when I read this story about Esther. So Esther approached and touched the end of the scepter. Then the king asked her, what do you want? Queen Esther, what is your request? I will give it to you, even if it is half of the kingdom. He's like, you can have whatever you want, girl. What you want? What your fine self want? That's what he really saying. That's what happens when you just handle yourself with such grace, such poise. You know, like when you're friendly, when you're kind, Have you noticed, like, people don't want nothing to do with you if you always popping off, you always rowdy and mean and angry, and you go with stuff the wrong way. When you just know how to conduct yourself at a time like this, I feel like you'll have more, you know, you'll have more leeway. I feel like sometimes we just go about stuff the wrong way, and then when we really need help, do you really have people there who's gonna be like king and say, what is your request? You really have to watch how you treat people. Really have to always watch how you treat people. My mom used to say, watch how you treat people, because you never know when you're gonna need them. You never know when you're gonna have to reach out to them. Okay, and Esther replied, if it please the king, let the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared for the king. The king turned to his attendants and said, tell Haman to come quickly to a banquet as Esther has requested. So the king and Haman went to Esther's banquet. While they were drinking wine, the king said to Esther, now tell me what you really want. What is your request? I will give it to you, even if it is half the kingdom. Esther replied, this is my request and deepest wish. If I have found favor with the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my request and do what I ask, please come with Haman tomorrow to the banquet I will prepare for you. Then I will explain what it is all about. All right, y'all. So I'm going to stop right there. Mordecai was more like the alarm clock, a reminder for Esther not to forget or miss her purpose or reason to which God made her queen. I love that. I love that, Aaron. Yes. Do you think we have Mordecais in our life? Aaron, do you guys, not just Aaron, everybody else as well, but Aaron is Aaron too, do you guys think that we have Mordecais in our life? Do we have that alarm clock, that person to remind us not to forget our purpose? She needed that. She needed to hear that. And it was coming from someone that she knew. Someone that she knew, she trusted. We all get to that place where we forget why God put us in certain positions. Exactly. And I'm sure Queen Esther probably forgot a couple of times. She's in this beautiful place, getting showered, getting treated like a queen, like she's getting spoiled. She's getting all these gifts, all these things. No telling where they came from before that. Who knows? Just imagine you get put in a mansion and you got servants and you got gifts and you got favor from the king. You living good. You don't have no worries. And then somebody come and tell you do something about this and you just like, huh? Yeah, we get distracted, of course. What's up, Kendall? That was so beautiful. Wow. I hope all of y'all have Mordecais in y'all life. And I hope that you all listen to the Mordecais and not be so distracted. I've had, you know what? I have a Mordecai in my life. I do. My Mordecai is my brother. Every time he says something, y'all, I kid y'all not. Every time he says something, I just be looking at him like, he's older than me too. I just be looking at him like, mind y'all, my dad passed when I was 15. Ever since my dad passed, my brother has just been this voice for me in my life. And I just look at him, and every time he told me not to do something, I did it. And every time it just got me in this big old hole, I would, go back and be like, he did tell me, he told me. And then every time we would talk and I'll bring up something, he'll be like, I did tell you, I tried to warn you. He never says, I told you so. He'll be like, I tried to warn you. I tried to warn you. And now I'm just like, yeah, like you have to really humble yourself. Humbling yourself will get you a long way. You really have to humble yourself. Humbling yourself will get you a long way. Being all arrogant and cocky, or like, that mentality of can't nobody tell you nothing. It doesn't matter who it is. You really need to pay attention. as long as it's not anything rude, negative, you know, rude, mean, evil. But like sometimes when stuff comes from people, you just be like, you don't know what you're talking about. But sometimes I believe that that is a voice that God sends. I truly believe that. So I want y'all to just think about the people who were in your life who was like that alarm or that reminder. As Aaron said, alarm clock or reminder. That's amazing. So I want to do a Esther fast before the end of this year. Ooh, no water, no food. 3-day fast. Y'all want to join me? I will put the details. I don't even know if I'm gonna go live. I probably should go live. Yeah, I should. Excuse me. I don't know when yet. Excuse me. But definitely before the end of this year. I think it's very important just to get clarity. I want to increase my relationship with God. I feel like I have a good relationship, but I want to make it stronger. You know, if you know, I have relationships with people here on earth, I don't just stop that relationship. You know, I still spend time with them. I still get to know them. We're all changing. Life changes. I still want to know what they're doing, how they're doing. So I want to make sure I keep that relationship with God. You know, I don't want to move from that, or I don't want anything in my life to move me back from God. I want to just get closer and closer and just keep close relationship and to stay close. So that's my goal and why I'm fasting, is just to make sure me and God, we locked in. So if y'all want to join, let me know. My birthday is tomorrow. I will not be live. I will see y'all on Monday. And I am gonna be posting some videos though. That's definitely what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna this weekend I'm gonna use my weekends to finish my book. It's an ebook that I'm gonna drop on where am I gonna drop it at? Hold on, y'all. Dang, I forgot. I do have a website, so I think I'm gonna use that. Yeah, I'm gonna use the website. I'm gonna drop the ebook. I don't know, where do people sell ebooks at? I don't even know. I have to do some research. But anyways, I am going to make some content. I wanted to start making some content about relationships and for women and men. I feel like there needs to be some content out there to I need to share my story more on how I was celibate before marriage and just some dating things, y'all. I'm gonna start focusing on that type of content. You know, I feel like this world teaches you to date around so much and sleep with so many people and the move-in culture. I don't know, I just want to give some dating advice that I feel like can help the young women as well, and anybody. But I really feel like there's not like a voice out there to help the younger women, you know, because when I was 18, 21, all my friends were, even in elementary school, all my friends were sleeping around. Everybody, except for me. And you get so peer pressured and everyone makes it look like it's so fun, but people don't talk about how that's really damaging. People don't talk about how you really get hurt when you sleep around. Like, people don't talk about it. Yes, humility is that very little but crucial pill. I agree. We need humility. Thank you. This your first day here? I thought you've been here. I thought you were here on Wednesday. Well, welcome. Okay. Oh, I thought I seen you before. I ain't seen you before, Aaron. Well, welcome in. I did not know. I appreciate y'all for joining here on the live and being here on Bible study with me. Bible study is for myself. I just come on here and share, you know, how I feel. You know, it's not really to, I'm not here to be like, I'm right, I know everything. I'm starting to see a lot of that. You know, like I'll post something or say something, people, you know, I'm not a pastor. Hold on now. And pastors don't even know everything. I'm not Jesus, and I'm not trying to be. Okay? I'm just the girl who's trying to get in her word, okay? All right. But I love y'all. Thank you guys for joining. I'm about to go pick up these groceries. Oh. Oh, well, welcome to the live. Wow. I'm glad that you joined. I really thought you were here before. Oh, okay. Wow. Welcome to the live. I did not know. I thought you've been on here before. Thank you for joining. I hope to see you on Monday. Make sure you guys join the Erin as well and everyone else who's new. I think Kendall might be new. I don't know. I don't know if Kendall's still in here, but if you're still in here, join the group chat on Instagram. Let me show you. It's the group chat that I have for these lives. So if you go on my Instagram, you'll see this little bubble thing. It's called a piece of peace. You click on it and you join the group chat, and I just post, you know, it's a Christian community. So make sure you're here. Make sure y'all join this group chat. I want to start having events. And they're not going to be panels. I had to say that, y'all, because these events, they're going to be more community-based, where I don't know if they're going to be worship events. I don't really know yet. But I want to start doing Bible study in person, maybe at a local coffee shop or local tea shop, but then just having events where we just do stuff and worship and, you know, I feel like we need more discipleship, more community. And I do think I'm going to start having some worship, you know, events with some music. Maybe add a little dating in there for the singles who's looking for the Christians looking to mingle. You know, just something cool. Maybe we dress up, you know, eat dinner and just really talk and get to know one another. You will be on here Monday? All right, y'all. Let me go pick up my groceries. I love y'all. I will see y'all on Monday. Bye, y'all. Thank you guys for joining. See y'all later.